All right, we have more details now on the chemical that Aldawsari was trying to buy from that North Carolina company. He put a $435 order in. He did that online. He did it on January 30th for, quote, large amounts of phenol. The company normally sells straight to colleges and universities, not to individual students. Aldawsari told the company that he needed it for off-campus personal research. Well, on February 1st, the company reported all this to the FBI before that phenol shipped.
I hope that we were helpful, and I hope that we thwarted what could have been a real tragedy.
Yeah, the company says that most schools never buy more than 1 liter of phenol each year. Aldawsari wanted to get his hands on 5 times that amount.
Richard Roper is a former U.S. attorney for our area here in North Texas. He's here to talk about prosecuting a case like this. Mr. Roper, you were appointed by President George W. Bush, and so you know him. Let's jump off there with the apparent threat against him. What's your read on that?
Well, I think the FBI was certainly right in taking this serious when they first got the tip, and I think they did an excellent job of pursuing that tip and doing what they had to do.
All right, the last case that we're familiar with here in North Texas was the Samadi case, and that was a sting. So there was a certain level, I think, of control by FBI agents. Remember, they were kind of the providers of the bomb, so to speak. So I think that does give them a certain amount of control, but they really didn't have much control in this case at all. Talk about the differences.
Oh, absolutely. The first was a sting case where they essentially set up the defendant, and they had control. There were no bombs. There was, and here, if it hadn't been for a tip, if the company had not alerted the law enforcement officers about what he was planning to do, well, they could have ended up sending those chemicals, and Lord knows what he would have done. Certainly, you know from the email postings that are listed in the affidavit that he certainly had certain intentions, and he had certain feelings. Now, whether he would have acted on that, I think we'll have to see. But it is certainly serious, and he certainly had bad motives.
Let's talk about, as a prosecutor, and I don't know if prosecutors make this call on gathering evidence and when, yes, there's enough evidence, let's go arrest this guy. But they went in his house or his apartment surreptitiously on Valentine's Day, the 14th, went in again on the 17th. How does that work? Do they take stuff that might be threatening? Do they have to leave it undisturbed so he doesn't run? What usually happens then?
Well, you know, that provision was provided for in the Patriot Act. And what it gives law enforcement officers the ability to go in, find evidence, but not disrupt what he could do, so they can essentially lead them to find more and more compelling evidence and find out, frankly, if he's involved with any associates. I think that was key. Certainly the FBI wanted to know, was he acting alone, or was he working with some foreign powers or foreign elements?
And when you see chemicals, and they said they were disassembled timing devices, I mean, I assume all of a sudden things get really ramped up. And is it 24-hour surveillance from that point on, generally in a case like this?
Well, certainly the FBI is not going to take a chance that he's going to actually be able to commit some kind of crime. So what they want to do is they want to let the case go enough where you know it's not just idle banter or mere rhetoric, but it's somebody that wants to go beyond mere preparation or take substantial steps, as the law says, to commit a crime.
Let's talk about the nature. You've prosecuted cases like this. You've watched some others. You said no outside help, and that is different to some of these cases. He wasn't corresponding with anybody who was representing Al-Qaeda, or he wasn't getting any help. It was, according to the affidavit, lone wolf. Is that a kind of suspect to be more concerned about, harder to find, harder to track?
Absolutely. If you don't have any associates you're dealing with, you're unlikely to come up on wiretaps or any type of electronic surveillance. And I think we've seen this phenomena several times. This is the sting that involves the man that wanted to blow up Fountain Place. And also there's cases in other parts of the country. These lone wolves, whether it's domestic or it's international element to a flavor to it, you find some folks that just have the certain feelings. And now, because of the internet, our world is smaller. And people, and the reality of it is, people can find out how to make bombs, and they can actually buy precursor chemicals that allow them to construct these devices. So it makes, number one, the law enforcement's jobs more difficult, but it places a burden, I think, on citizens, such as that company in North Carolina that sees something.
A lot of people are giving them
They really took the advice of the Director of Homeland Security when she said, if you see something, report it.
Right.
And that's exactly what she
Quickly,
did.
we got to wrap this up, but you've seen the affidavit. You like the evidence. Would you have any problem going to trial with it?
Well, you don't know for sure if that's the whole evidence.
Yeah, right.
But I think the question is, was it mere rhetoric, or did he have plans to do damage? And I think what the difference would be, the rhetoric's there, but the difference is, were those chemicals together all in the hazmat suit and all this other actions in totality, that it shows that he was taking substantial steps to commit a crime.
Okay. Richard Roper, former U.S. Attorney for our area here in the Northern District of Texas. Thank you for coming in and adding that perspective. Now, we invite you to stay with Fox 4 News for continuing coverage of this Texas terror plot. We've posted a copy. You've heard of us refer to this arrest warrant affidavit. You can read it yourself. It's on the website, myfoxdfw.com. And you can see our reports online, too. Any new details as we get them, you'll find them online, too, here or on Fox 4 News.